Hello, students. You're welcome to the second lecture of Module 4, uh, which is on writing skills. In the previous lecture, we have seen what writing is and the different ways of undertaking the business of writing, such as essay writing, letter writing, and so on. And in this module, inshallah, we're going to look at items like report writing, curriculum vitae, memorandum, as well as emails. Uh, report writing. This is our first item here. When we say report, we are referring to any document that provides an account of events witnessed, an investigation conducted, or work carried out comprising conclusion and sometimes even recommendations, if any. That is, that which resulting from the investigation. A report is written normally to guide organizations in policy formulations and decision making, and therefore it must have clear-cut objectives to be guided by. When one undertakes writing a report, one is usually given instructions, directives, and guidelines, which include format consisting of sections, headings, and subheadings in order to guide the report. Since report writing is not merely undertaken in a vacuum, then it must have some certain essential qualities for it to qualify as a good report. So now, what are the qualities of a good report? A good report must be clear, accurate, and unambiguous. In other words, it should be written in a clear language, straight to the point, which everyone can easily understand. A good report must also be well structured and highly organized. It should have sections and subsections where each section discusses the relevant items. A good report must also be informative. In other words, it should provide the required information. A good report must also have clearly defined objectives and a scope, because without clear-cut objectives, then definitely the report has failed to be a good report. A good report must also consider the needs of potential readers. Now, the language of report. In report writing and as in all other formal situations, you find that it is not a situation where every kind of language would be accepted. No, there are some kinds of usages that we should as much as possible try to avoid. One of them is the use of contraction. That is, it is a situation where when you try to shorten some words by the use of apostrophe in place of a letter in order to shorten the word or phrase. For example, shan't for shall not, can't for cannot, don't for do not, am for I am, and so on. Secondly, we should also strive to avoid the use of cliche. Cliche is the use of certain expressions, mostly phrases, which have been used over and over to the level that they become overused and therefore ineffective. For example, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Lay starch base. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. I'm like a kid in a candy store. Roses are red, violets are blue. Time heals all wounds. We are not laughing at you, we're laughing with you. And so on and so forth. And we should also try to avoid the use of idioms while writing a report. For example, a bad carpenter blames his tools. A bad tree does not yield good fruits. A camel is a horse made by a committee. A burnt child dreads the fire. A cat in gloves catches snow mice, and similar other idiomatic expressions. Next, we should also try to avoid the use of archaism, which is the use of words or expressions that are considered to be outdated or old-fashioned or sometimes even uh, invective. For example, the use of omnibus to stand for a bus, which is a dated term used for a bus. Brethren, which is an outdated term for brother. Negro for American Negro, or pagan for heathen. In fact, the last two examples are even considered insulting in modern English, so we should try to avoid these similar expressions. Next is the use of slang. Slang is an informal expression, therefore inappropriate for formal situations. For example, gutchy, that is Gucci, which means or implies good, cool, or going well. Or lit, Lit, meaning amazing, cool, or something which is exciting. OMG, which is an abbreviation for oh my gosh or oh my god. Salty, which means something that is bitter, angry, or agitated. Dope, that is DOPE, which means cool or awesome. Goat, GOAT, meaning greatest of all time. Sick or sick, that is SIC or SICK, which means cool or sweet. There are some uncommon abbreviations and acronyms which are regarded as standard because they are commonly used in varieties of discourses. These include these of COVT, GOVT to stand for government, or SCE for school, or UNICEF, and or maybe UNICEF. Well, there are so many other examples that you can find which have kind of universal appeal and are accepted. Apart from similar examples, then we should try to avoid other usages, informal writing. Now, types of report. Report is broadly divided into two major types, formal and informal. Informal report is the kind of report which disregards the rules and guidelines given by an organization. As I've said, informal report tends to disregard the rules or the guidelines given by an organization, a company, or school, or any other situation, and it can be written to send information to just one person or a small number of people. For example, reports shared among co-workers within an organization, such as a memorandum. While formal report is an official kind of report whose purpose is also official, this kind of report provides information, analyzes issues, and makes recommendation on how to tackle a particular problem or make a decision making. For example, police report, evaluation report, uh, research project report, and so on. The structure of a formal report. What is the structure of a formal report? The structure of a formal report depends upon one's organizational requirements. In writing formal reports, however, the following format is normally adhered to. One, it should be the title page, which should contain the title of the report, the name of the reporter, and the date in which the report is compiled and submitted. Two, table of contents. For the table of contents is expected to contain all the chapters or headings together with their page numbers, and this allows the reader to easily locate all parts of the report. 3. Executive summary, otherwise known as the abstract. This gives a brief explanation on the contents of the report. It gives the summary of the purpose of the report, the method of investigation, major findings, conclusion, and recommendations, if any. 4. Introduction or terms of reference. In this section, the reporter should clearly discuss all the necessary background information, aim and objectives of the report, as well as definition of all the abbreviations and acronyms used in the methods of investigation. Here, the writer is expected to give a detailed explanation of all the methods he or she has employed in order to gather the data for the report. This can include a list of all the equipment used, explanation of data collection procedure, such as interview, questionnaire, observation, discussion, and so on. And then finally, the findings and conclusion. This section focuses on the logical presentation of the findings of the report. To further support the result of the investigation, the writer may decide to include diagrams, tables, and graphs. This is then followed by the conclusion, which may either take the form of highlighting the most important points of the report or show the overall significance. And then there's the recommendation, which normally takes the form of a call to action. The recommendations or suggestion given must be in line with the findings of the report, because it's only through the findings that you'll be able to make certain suggestions or recommendations to the organization concerned. Then another instance is the appendix or annex. In this section, the reporter should include all the supporting documents and information used. That is, those which have not been included in the report. This may include questionnaires, transcripts, graphs, and so on. Bibliography. In this section, a reporter should list in alphabetical order and by author all published sources referred to in the report. In other words, everything should be appropriately referenced. The next or the second item in this section is curriculum vitae, otherwise known as CV or resume. Curriculum vitae is a personal marketing document that people use for self-marketing to potential employers when seeking job. A well-written CV presumably makes the candidate stand a good chance of securing a job. In contrast, a poorly written CV may face rejection from almost every employee. A CV should explain almost everything about the job seeker. For example, his professional history or professional affinities, skills, abilities, achievements, and so on and so forth. And for the CV to become successful, there are some rules. Here we are going to outline 10 rules for writing a good or successful. 1. Simplicity. A successful CV should not be overcomplicated with too many categories or too many information than required, which means that it should go straight to the point and explain what is required. 2. Highlights. Because CV is a marketing tool, one should make sure it highlights all one's personal and professional achievements to date. 3. It should be truthful. One should not fabricate any information in the CV, as it will become known to one's employer at some point in time. 4. Unique. The style and tone one uses in writing one's CV should be personal to one. In other words, one should be direct, positive, and personal. 5. Tailored. The contents of one's CV should be tailored in line with the current job application requirements as well as the job description. That is, one needs to be flexible while writing. 6. Word processed. A good CV must be word processed. It should be typed and spelling or grammar checked using a word processor. One also needs to avoid using slang, colloquialism, cliches, and so on. 7. It should be succinct. While writing a CV, one needs to be clear, precise, and concise. Employers are never impressed with several pages of useless information. This, however, does not mean that many information should be lumped up together. but that everything should be in its place. 8. Reversed chronology. In all the subheadings of a CV, the most recent events should come first, followed by the next, and so on. 9. Review. One should give one CV to a respected colleague to critically proofread and review. 10. Quality. A CV should be typed in an A4-sized paper using an appropriate font size. The information provided should be well spaced so that the CV looks neat, qualitative, professional, and easy to read. You can use bullet points to identify and spread information, but make sure to never use a colored text in a CV. Format of writing a CV. Although a CV can be written in a variety of ways based on the skills and experience of the writer as well as the job requirements, there are particular sections that employers expect to see in a CV. These are explained below. 1. Personal details. This is expected to be positioned at the top of the page. It includes name, professional title, contact details, and so on. We should try as much as possible to avoid use of title in your CV as curriculum vitae or CV. Instead, your name should be taken as the title and should be followed by your address, phone numbers, and email. 2. Personal profile, also known as personal statement, career profile, or professional profile. This section is one of the most important parts of a CV. And it's a short paragraph that gives your prospective employer an overview about who you are, your career goals, and what you can offer to the company. Your profile should be tailored to every job you applied for by highlighting the specific qualities that make you the most suitable candidate for the employment history. This should start with the most recent or the most relevant employment information. Even if you are not involved in any paid employment, it's likely that you're doing something at the time from which you have learned new skills. For each previous position, state your job title, the organization you worked for, dates employed, projects involved in, positions or responsibilities held, achievements and experience gained. If you have many years' worth of experience, you can reduce the details of old or irrelevant roles. Next is education and qualifications. This should also be written in a reverse chronological order. One should include the name of the institutions one attended and the dates he or she attended them. This is followed by the qualifications and grades one achieved. In the case of examination like WAEC or NECO, one needs not include details of all the subjects taken. They should be grouped together as 9 WAEC credits or 7 NECO credits and so on. And this tends to give more space for other more important things rather than just trying to bother the reader with so many details. Compress everything. Just bring out the most essential things that the employer or potential employer may wish to see. Section, there is a range of additional sections that may strengthen your CV and highlight your skills. The following are some sections that can be included. Key skills. This sometimes comes before employment history. You can include your languages and computing skills, noting the level of fluency as well as evidence of using them. You can also include any other skill that you think are appropriate. Hobbies and interests. If you feel that your CV is still lacking, you can improve it by including your hobbies and interests. However, one must be careful not to include hobbies that may hinder one's chances of getting the job. One should draw only on those that are relevant to the particular job in question. Referees. In this section, try to identify reliable referees and include their names, job titles, contact details, and their link to you. Alternatively, many people decide to omit this section or state that references are available or request. It is important though to seek prior permission from your referee. What you should not include in a CV. 1. A headshot. Well, in some instances, you find that in some nationalities, it is common to include your picture on your CV. In the case of Nigeria, for example, this practice is not allowed, and so we should try to stick to the regulation. 2. Age and date of birth. The only dates that should be on your CV are those about your employment and qualification information. Your age should not determine your ability to do the job you're applying for, as these details may even hinder your chances of getting a job in some instances. Marital status. Marital status and other information should not be included in a CA because it doesn't impact in any way your ability of, the possibility of you getting a job. Many a time you find the marital status of an applicant may even be used against him. Writing an email. This is the next item here, or electronic mail. An email is a message which may contain text, files, images, or other attachments sent through a network to an individual or group of individuals. This email has a number of advantages over other forms of correspondence in that it is faster and more instant way of sending and receiving information. Through the use of an email, an individual can instantly transmit a large volume of information to a wide range of recipients. However, for someone to send or receive email messages, he or she must have an email address and must be connected to a server. An email address must contain a username and a password, which allows the user to access the email. In these days, almost every organization have an email address and website, which they use to correspond with their employees, as well as any other stages of writing an email. An email can be viewed or received through a computer or a cell phone that has an internet connection. When sending an email, the individual must first access his or her email address. After that, the email page, one should click on Compose button and a panel will appear which contains 3 options. 1. The first is designated 2, and it is where the email address of the recipient of the message should be written. 2. The second tagged subject is optional, and it is where a brief description of the contents of the message can be given. 3. The last is the compose email button, in which the actual message to be sent should be written. One advantage of email is that if a sender wants to attach pictures, audio files, he or she can do so by clicking the attach file button, which leads the sender to different locations where pictures, audio, and video recordings are stored. After selecting the appropriate file, one should finally click on send, and the message is instantly transmitted to the recipient's inbox. Therefore, the recipient can easily open and view the contents of the message. Minutes of a meeting. This is one of the most important responsibilities of a secretary of a department or an organization. Minutes of a meeting is meant to take notes of what happens at any membership meeting. The notes taken are referred to as the minutes, that is, a record of official business that occurs during a meeting. The secretary has to first study the agenda of the meeting, which serves as a skeletal outline and as well as its term of reference while composing or writing the minutes. What are the main features or characteristic features of minutes? 1. A minute should indicate the date, time, and place of the meeting, the name of the chair of the meeting, and the list of those present, in other words, the attendants. 2. It should record an explanation of any matter, including any motions made and actions taken, which eventually form the resolution. 3. It should indicate the next meeting, date, time, and place, the time of adjournment, the writer's signature, name. The next item is Memorandum, otherwise known as Memo. Another way through which information is shared within and outside organizations is via memorandum, which is a form of correspondence meant to convey information to members of an organization or to other organizations and bodies. In some disciplines like law, a memorandum is regarded as a record of the terms of transaction or contract, such as policy memo, memorandum of understanding, memorandum of association, etc. Memo is divided into two types: the internal and then the external memorandum. Internal memorandum. This is a memorandum written and circulated to people within the same organization. In other words, internal memorandum is a brief written communication aimed at passing information from an organization to its various employees or between and among officials in an organization. The topics of internal memorandum may range from general notification, request for action, to invitation for meetings. Format of an internal memorandum. The format of memorandum varies from one organization to another. That is, in writing a memorandum, some organizations may have specific format which may be peculiar to them. In general, an internal memo has the following format. First, there has to be a heading, which comes at the top of the page and shows the name of the organization as well as the caption, internal memorandum. 2. From. This comes at the left-hand side of the page and shows the title of the officer writing the memorandum. 4. This comes below from and indicates the designation of the recipients of the memorandum. 4. Date. This is written below the column 2. And then subject. That is the title of the message, which is written below the sections above. And it can be written in uppercase alone or in upper and lower case. Whichever you choose is accepted. Next is the body, which is the actual information the memorandum intends to disperse. And then finally, name of the writer. This comes at the end of the now internal memo. Examples of an internal memo. At the top right hand side, you've seen it's an address, Mozambique Travel Agency, number 233, Bombay Kano internal, and then the title immediately after it, internal memorandum. And then when you go to the left hand side, below the last line of the other item, internal memorandum, you have the title from the general manager, and then immediately after it there is to, that is referring to the recipient, all staff, and then the date comes immediately after to, which is given here. And then immediately after that, at the center of the page is the title, that is notice of the meeting. And then about 2 lines below is the information. That is, this is to inform you, blah, 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 and so on. And then after it, there's another date. Below it, a venue. And then below venue, there is the time. And then there is about 2 line space, and then the agenda is clearly described. For example, the following agenda will be discussed, and then the items are provided one by one. Opening prayer, brief remarks by the general manager, successes recorded in this outgoing year, challenges and problems encountered, way forward, any other business. This is a typical example of an internal memorandum. The next item is external memorandum, which is usually written to send messages to the general public or other external organizations and bodies in order to convey information on some specific issues. An external memorandum is written for the people outside an organization and is written in a more formal approach. Like in most continuous writing tasks, external memorandum has an introduction, main body, and conclusion. It is important to note that the format of external memorandum differs from one company to another and depends on the person or organization to which the memorandum will be sent. However, most external memoranda are written in form of formal letters. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This brings us to the end of Module 4, and hope to meet you in the next module soon. Thank you. Good day.